Louise Bedford here, your host of the Mind Over Market segment, where we aim to sculpt mental clarity so that we can continue running towards those profits in the market. Jordan, great to see you. I'm interested in hearing your views on our topic today.
Yep. Okay. It took me a long time to recover from the last episode, but let's go again. Sure.
Now, what we're going to talk about is how to achieve bliss. Now, it's so important in every field of our lives that we know what we're aiming for so that we can scaffold our way in towards achievement. Now, trading is no different. I sometimes see people where they are misdirected with this and they end up on this hedonic treadmill. They chase happiness, but actually they're just wearing themselves out and burning out. So I'd like to perhaps switch tone a little bit so that we can delve into what we really need to be looking at for a well-rounded life, but also as a well-rounded trader. Now, we know from the Market Wizard books by Jack Schwager, as well as just meeting traders, generally the best traders have the best balance in life. They are the most psychologically stable and fit people. They have a growth mindset and they don't compare themselves negatively with others. They do what they can to monitor their self-talk. Now, in one of our past episodes, we touched on this, but I want to start with this, Jordan, because I'd love your views. I have just been, this is my new book. This is my new book. Look at that. It's huge. I know. So this
I
is
thought you were about to do the cover there. I got so excited. I was like,
no, this is far more painful than the cover because this has required hundreds of hours of work to be able to pop it into that format. Now, one of the things that I've been releasing little bits here and there of the book, Investing Psychology Secrets, coming to a bookstore near you soon. One of the things in this book that I have been getting a lot of flack over is that I have said for a trader to excel in the markets, they have to believe in their own levels of superiority. They have to think that they are good enough. They have to think that they are actually even better than the majority of people. And if you look at social inclusion theory, where we talk about us as traders and them all out there that are civilians, we often compare ourselves quite favorably because of our mindset. We're living by our wits. We are traders. You know, we trade the things you drink for your breakfast. We trade the aspects of your life that are invisible, the metal, the iron, used to be able to trade little pigs, actually, which was kind of weird. The iron ore, the pipes.
lean hogs.
So lean hogs, yes. Years ago, I ran training on that, and I called it 3 Little Piggies. Yes.
I'm guilty. I've also traded lean hogs.
So I want to talk with you and get your thoughts about, do we need to think that we're superior to achieve? Because I could be wrong. Maybe I've just written it in my book and people will prove me wrong, but I'd love your thoughts.
No, I agree. You have to think you are the best to be the best. You have to have that unwavering confidence and that self-belief, and sometimes you have to do that by believing you are superior. A number one example on this, that I'm a motorsport fan, in particular Formula One, okay, and I'm a big Lewis Hamilton fan, and Lewis Hamilton over the years has copped a lot of stick for his ego, right, and said he's got this horrible attitude. And my first rebuttal is, you have to. He has to believe he is the best driver in the world. And there's no way he's ever going to be the best driver in the world if he doesn't believe it. And I'm like, it's okay for him to have that little bit of egotism, that little bit of, I should be in that number one seat and I should be driving, because he truly believes it. And I don't believe he would have went on to win 7 world champions, debatably 8, but that's another story. If he hadn't of believed that. So yeah, I'm a firm believer. If you want to be the best, you have to believe you're best. Now, there's still ways in human social concepts in which you still present yourself and you still be respectful and stuff. I'm not saying you should walk around thinking you're the alpha, but I think, yeah, knowing or at least feeling that you are superior and you can be superior, it's a healthy habit to have if you're trying to do something that requires someone to be superior.
Wasn't it Muhammad Ali that said, "I am the greatest"? That was the image that he had of himself. And if we look at Mark Spitz, who, I mean, he really was only knocked off as being the swimming champion of the world by Michael Phelps. I mean, he declared it. He said, "I'm going to win 7 gold medals," a task that had never been completed before. And he said that in advance of the Olympics. He couldn't have possibly known that that was actually even possible, but he called it. Babe Ruthed it, said, "I'm going to knock it out." Here we are. So I do think it's okay to give yourself enough self-praise to give you the confidence to act. And sometimes women have trouble with that, actually. I don't see men as struggling as quite as much.
Whoa. You looked at me funny there, Louise. But no, I think it's important. I think it well, speaking as a man, sometimes it uplifts me. If I think I can be that superior, that it gives me that masculinity. I'm going to struggle to get that word out. But it gives me that feeling of like, yeah, all right, let's do it. Like, I am going to be this. And it really, really drives me. It gives me a fire in the belly.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm part bloke, I think, with that. There's no doubt. So I tend to eradicate anything saying that that's not possible. And it's interesting as well that I've been able to imbue that into my children's mindset. I find it very difficult when friends put themselves down and they say, "Oh, I can't do this because," and insert stupid excuse here. So I tend not to let that out of my children's mouths. And that's something that I think is a really good thing for us to call our friends up on, to be an unreasonable friend and to say, "Hey, hang on a minute. That's really harsh of you to say it in that way. You'd never tell me that, and you're telling yourself that." We often believe the things out of our mouth more than we believe the things that people tell us because it's generated internally. So let's have a look at that utopian level that we're trying to get to. I've called it the bliss zone. So I'm just going to explain it first, Jordan, and I'll stop at particular points and I'm going to ask you your opinion about it because this is my personal theory and I really haven't presented on this very much at all. So this is pretty much a Trade Delicious exclusive. So it is also appearing in my book.
Yeah, with it being that and this being the first time, I want everyone watching this as well. As we go through these, we want your opinions on it too. So as we look through passion, as we look through whatever else Louise is about to bring up, I'm a little bit nervous as well. Don't worry. Have a write down what it is that relates to you. And let's give Louise some love here for sharing an exclusive.
No, thank you, Jordan. I do appreciate that. And thank you for allowing me to have the wherewithal to be able to share things like this because it's such a great focus for me. I'm bloody loving this. So when we're looking at our lives with any skilled performance, it is really made up of 3 aspects: passion, skill, and money. So let's look into these and the intersection. I love a good Venn diagram. Let's look at the intersection of these 3 aspects: passion, skill, and money, because somewhere in there you will find not only your occupation, not only the thing that you do for fun, not only trading, but you'll also probably find some life lessons in there as well. So think of the bigger picture here. Now, just imagine that you have got passion and skill. So that really is a hobby. So if you're not making money out of it, then you love it and you could be good at it, or at least you're approaching being good at it. But if there's no money there, that's okay, because you are prepared for that eventuality. So one of my hobbies, to give you an example, is I like to play with clay. So I make strange little cartoony type of figures made of clay. They could be dragons, they could be pufferfish, they could be camels. I love creating something with my hands. Nobody is going to pay for them. They're really not sellable. And if they were, like, it takes me like 40 hours to create one. So I would have to charge thousands of dollars to feel justified. And it might even take the fun out of it for me. So I'm not expecting money out of that. But imagine you had money and skill, but you have no passion. That is pretty much where a lot of people find themselves in a job.
Yeah.
They don't really care for it. They're not really focused on it in terms of their heart. It doesn't really fill them up. It doesn't fill their bucket. And that can be an unfortunate way that a lot of people hit their middle age at that point. And once they hit that point, they think that it permeates into every other area of their life, and they have to buy the Ferrari and date the supermodel. So I'd like to start with those two areas first, Jordan. Firstly, tell me, do you have something that you have passion and skill with, but you're not earning money out of it?
Yeah, there's lots of little hobbies along the. For example, number one is gaming. Video gaming. I'm a big fan of gaming, and I've got a big passion for it. I like to think I'm pretty good, so I've got the skill there. Same with football, anything kind of sports related. I've got this unwavering belief that I'm really good at sports, and I refuse to have anyone tell me otherwise. I don't know why. I feel like I could pick up any sport and be all right. Other than basketball, I feel like I'll be all right. So anything along those lines, I don't make money from it. I don't ever plan on making money from it, and I'm happy there. You know, I'm happy with that. Just being, as you've mentioned, you think adding that money value to it will actually drop the value and the passion in there. I'm there because I want to be there, not because I want to make money or anything like that. In between skill and money is an interesting one. I try and I don't think there's one standout area. I'm quite fortunate with the work that I'm doing at the moment that I'm sitting kind of in the middle there. I'm passionate, I'm skillful, and it makes me money. So I'm really sitting where I want to be. I think there's elements of my job, there's elements of life that will sit in between that skill and money. But the end, like, it works towards that end goal, which also comes through with the passion. So if that makes sense, like there'll be admin work that I'm going to have to do in order for that job to be completed, but it's still passionate because that job leads towards that passion. So a big one between passion and skill. I've struggled to find stuff between skill and money that isn't more skewed back towards that passion, luckily.
Yeah, that is good. That is good. And also that can give you a really great focus for what can you delegate. Because if it's not your hot button, if it's not the thing that gets your heart beating, maybe there's somebody that can take that over. And even if they do it to 70% of your skill level, you're still managing to get away from that and into something else that actually gets you to be closer to that bliss zone.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay, so let's have a look at the next area here. This is where you have passion and money, but you have no skill. Now, some people might consider their manager at work to be in this situation if they're subject to the Dunning-Kruger effect, where they get promoted too quickly, but they really don't know what they're doing, but they think they do. That can be an unfortunate aspect there. And it can really represent itself in our lives where people have got an inflated ego about how clever they are, but they actually have nothing of substance to offer. Now, I've called it flash in the pan. You know, when you have one of those situations where you add oil to a really hot pan, it goes whoosh and nearly burns your eyebrows off. So, and then it dies down, hopefully. So the theory goes. So that flash in the pan, it can occur. The one that I'm thinking of from a business perspective is those fidget spinners. You know, those fidget spinners that you spin them around and you hold them between your hands. Those two 17-year-olds that invented that, because they had just the one idea and they couldn't extend it out into anything else, they loved it. They made a bucket load of money out of it, but they didn't have the necessary skills to generalize that to other areas of the business world. So passion and money can equal flash in the pan. Now, the other area, of course, is if you have passion, skill, and money, that's your hot spot there. That is the bliss zone. That is something that not only are you loving doing, you have the skills to do it, but it's also paying you money. Now, this to me is where every trader needs to get to. I've seen those traders with massive amounts of passion and it earns them a lot of money, but then they don't have the skills. I've seen traders who love it and they have the skills, but they're not very good at it.
Yeah.
So they don't get the money. And there are some traders that have the skills, they earn the money out of it, but it doesn't light them up. There's no spark, there's no joy in what they do. And therefore, it will be short lived because we are not automatrons. We are not that machine that can just keep on going without feeling that motivation and that inspiration. So to combine all three, I think, is the goal. Now, I would love your thoughts on this, Jordan. What are your thoughts? Am I going to get abuse over this for writing about this theory in my new book, Investing Psychology Secrets, or is this going to go down a treat with traders?
You're going to get abuse, and I'm gonna throw some feedback if that's okay.
I'd love it.
I've got one thing. So I believe can we pull that back up just so we can see and have a look at it? I believe there's areas of my life right now where I sit between passion and money. Okay, where I'm not in the bliss zone, I'm in that flash in the pan. And what I really wanted to depict with this is because it's so set in stone, right? You kind of have a look, let's find where that is. I have a mindset, and same with launching Trade Delicious, same when I got into trading, right? I'd have the passion, I'd have the money. I don't have the skill yet.
Okay? But are you developing the skill?
Exactly. And I've got the mindset of, okay, I've got passion, I've got money. I don't have the skill, but I will have the skill, right? And we're going to develop that skill. And I find sometimes, just to make sure when traders look at this, if it doesn't fit there yet, that's okay. That's okay. You know, we can build up into that bliss zone. And I think that's one point to mark out. You don't have to be there straight out of the gates. It's not going to happen that way. There might be something you're better in. You might have more passion than you do skill. You might have more money than you do passion, whatever that might be. But you can mold this to how you want it to be, as long as you've got elements of the three, or the willingness, not really willingness to develop the passion, because the passion's a natural thing. It'll come. But at least with the skill, as long as you've got the willingness to learn and grow that skill, then you can pull that closer to the bliss zone. So if you're sitting between passion and money, where, as you mentioned, that there's a few things I go, yeah, okay, I'm definitely in between that passion and money. I don't have the skill yet. I really don't, but I'm working towards it. So I think there's a nice little channel to be able to pull into that bliss zone when that skill is developed.
I like that. So maybe the continuum needs to be thought through so that it's not just if you have the God-given skill, bang, there you are, you're skilled. You can grow into this. Yes.
Yeah, and it's my opinion, because there's definitely, like, I look at some aspects of my life now, even some aspects of the work, and we launched Trade Delicious, right? A new media company. I'm like, I've never worked in media. I've got no idea what I'm doing, right? But we've got the mindset of we will know. You know, we don't know, but we're going to find out and we're going to build it. We've got the passion with money. Let's see if we can build this into and develop the skills. So I think there's elements of it where if it doesn't sit in that bliss zone, don't throw it out. Just know, or at least have an action plan of how it gets to that bliss zone in the money or skill section, in ones that can be kind of changed a little bit. The passion, I think, is a must. If the passion is not there in the early days, what's the chances of it being there in the later days? Probably fades out more than it grows, in a personal opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And maybe as well, in every endeavor, there will be one area that needs to be worked on more than others.
Mm.
So, even with passion, I do think there are things that you can do to encourage that passionate emotion. So, with the dating world is
Mhm.
apparently if you're going on a first date, the idea is that you take them on something that gets their heart racing because they confuse that with attraction. So the roller coaster
There you
ride.
go.
Yeah, dating advice. Here we go. So yeah. So if you're taking them just to a restaurant that's fairly, staid and boring, and everybody just has a glass of champagne, then you probably won't get any action. But if you take them on a roller coaster ride or something that's novel, something that makes their physiological system display the signs of attraction, they interpret those physiological symptoms as being attraction. They conflate the two. So I do
Wow.
think there are some things with trading. You came here for some advice. I'll give you some advice. So with trading, I think there are some things that you can do to increase your passion. Immersion is so important. Listening to people who are passionate, I think that is an emotional contagion way of borrowing from their own passion. So you
Mm.
can get pumped up to some extent. And certainly once the money rolls in, I do find that increases passion almost
Yeah.
without exception.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get paid out from the trades, you go, "Oh my, okay,
That's
yeah,
it.
we're making
Exactly.
progress."
Exactly. And if we look at somebody like Jerry Seinfeld, so Jerry is clearly just such a winner. And he worked on a joke for 2 whole years about Pop Tarts. It was funny. I didn't think it was that funny, but it was 2 years of effort. So every joke he's written, he has plotted out on a yellow legal pad and he pops them all over the ground, lays them all out and uses it like a storyboard. So what we think of as being spontaneous and being on the spur of the moment, that he looks like, hey, this is effortless. He actually has honed all of those 3 areas. The skill, the passion, and of course the money has rolled in because of it. And it's in a completely separate area from trading. But I do think it is something that we can use as traders to enhance our own performance.
Yeah. Wow. I like it. I like it. I'm still baffled with the 2 years for an average joke, but
I
but yeah.
know. I know, my gosh. So let's talk about how you can develop your purpose, because purpose has a lot to do with passion. So the first thing to do is to write down your purpose. That will lead you forward. It will bring that clarity that you need. Now, I'm not going to ask you yours at the moment, Jordan. That might come in a later episode. That's your due warning. So
I was ready.
write down.
I was ready.
Yes.
I'm like, let's go.
Write down exactly what you want in life. Play that big game. Make sure that your vision is totally beyond that which you can achieve right now, because you can grow into it. And that is something I think people really need to think about. Secondly, state what you're feeling. State where you are now and where you want to go. Then it'll be up to you to bridge that gap. So, part of what we're doing in trading is to recognize where we are right now and recognize the state where we want to be. And how we move from where we are now to where we want to be is usually using the markets. So, there will be other aspects that we need to consider as well. But as a trader, using the markets. So, think that through and be very careful with that, because where you're aiming, if you hit it, are you going to be happy? Are you going to hit that bliss zone? The third thing I'd suggest is be gentle with yourself. So, something that is really interesting is you need to forgive yourself, but only after you've kicked yourself, in my view. So unless you've actually worked through the ability to say, it's okay, I made that mistake, I've learned from it, and now I need to move on, you can be hooked into the past and it can just keep its tendrils in on you and drag you backward. So just before I cover number 4, so Jordan, I'm just going to go through those 3 again, just to summarize, and I'd love your thoughts.
Yep.
So when we're working on our own personal mission to develop our passion and to make sure that our bliss zone is getting that big tick by the end of next week or the end of our life, regardless, first thing is to write down your objectives. Why are you trading? Why are you existing? Then state what you're feeling, state where you are now and where you want to be, and put it in emotional terms. And the third thing is be gentle on yourself. So if you've made mistakes, aim to forgive yourself for your past transgressions. That can really help. And there is one extra step, which I'll cover in just a moment. Jordan, in terms of developing your purpose, give me your impressions of those 3 steps.
Yeah. I think it was Dean Graziosi wrote a book that I read once, 7 Reasons Why, which was the you ask yourself 7 times why, right? Going into why are you doing what you're doing? Why? Because I want more money. Why do you want more money? Because I want my family to be financially free. Why do you want them to be financially? And you do it 7 times. And that was an eye opener for me to know my real driving force on why I do what I do and what I'm reaching for. So big recommendation to do that if this is resonating with you, knowing your why. The second one is your plan, right? It's if you can't imagine where you end up, what are you working towards? It's the same as a trading plan. It's the same as setting any type of goal. If you can't see what you're actively working towards, how do you break it down and make an actionable plan? This is a project manager coming out in me. If we can't see what the end goal is, what are we doing? How are you breaking it down and how are you going through the steps to work towards that? So really important you envision that. Key point you mentioned, will it make you happy? All right, we can sit here and say, I want to turn $5 million a year. Why? Will that make you happy? Or are you happiest when you're hanging with your friends at the pub? Are you the happiest when what makes you happy? That's really, really key to understand. That last one, be calm.
Gentle with yourself. Yeah.
Be gentle with yourself. I struggle with this one sometimes. So I'm harsh on myself. I believe if you make a mistake, you have to be punished for the mistake, right? And so I go quite hard on myself when I make mistakes in trading and things like that. The way I believe, now you might gut me here, Louise, but the way I believe that I approach that gentleness is when I make the mistake, it's okay to be a little bit harsh and give myself a kick in the backside. But I develop an action plan on why I won't do it again, or I analyze where the mistake was made so I'm aware of what the mistake was. And then if I keep making that mistake, well, then I'm in big trouble. But that's how I get that gentle growth mindset is, okay, for the first couple of hours, I'm going to give myself a kick in the ass. I shouldn't have done that. But then afterwards, I'll be like, okay, why did I do that? How do we implement something so I don't do it again? And then I get more of that growth mindset of that's not going to happen again.
I love that, Jordan. And in actual fact, that's something I do too. So I write down, what did I do well and what would I do differently? So that I can contrast those 2 areas, because even in an error, you can still have done some things well. So I think it's also important as a part of gentleness to see where you've really objectively, because objectivity, it's not just damning yourself. Objectivity is actually looking at both. What did you do well and what can you do differently? Now, I want to talk about number 4 in the couple of minutes we have remaining. This is a big one, and it is something that won't come instantly for the majority of people. It's to write your mission statement. Now, Jordan, I'm going to give you mine. And so when I was 19, I went to a seminar and it was about this. It was about how to get the best out of life. I don't remember anything about that seminar, but I've still got the original card that I wrote this on. So I was 19, okay, so just give me a break. Here it is. To inspire others by leading by example, to create wealth and spread my wealth to those I love and those I choose, to nurture others to discover their true energy so they can change the world. And by true energy, what I mean is the thing that they can do effortlessly, what is their own personal bliss zone, the thing that they enjoy, that I can be a conduit to help them towards their bliss zone. So I have barely changed that since I was
Yeah.
19.
I mean, look at your work, look at everything you're doing. It aligns with your 19-year-old self's goal.
Yeah. So everything that we're talking about, I want you to consider what your personal bliss zone is. Think about that intersection between passion, skill, and money. Think about whether you are currently living your bliss zone, and if not, what needs to change. Jordan, any parting words?
No, my mind's been blown this episode, to be honest. There's so much that relates. I want to say a big thank you from everyone at Trade Delicious, everyone watching, and everyone in the comment section as well, to say thank you for willing to share some of your findings and put your opinion on the block. You know, this is your theory, and you've put it out there, willing to allow me to gut it. It's changed, right? No, I feel like I'm in the driving seat this episode. This has been fun, but no, I'm really grateful for it, and yeah, I think there's a lot that people can self-reflect on and move forward with it from this episode alone.
I'm loving reading everybody's comments. So keep those comments coming in, and do remember to like and subscribe. It really makes a difference. See you in the next episode.
See you guys.